Who do you think you are? Are you your genes, your culture, your ideology? The truth is that you are all, and you are none of these things. People want certainty. They want things simple and straightforward, without ambiguity. Even those supposedly rebelling against the system seek this without knowing it. They want it so much that they blind themselves to alternatives, to the unknown. Intelligence is no safeguard against this either. Even the smartest person can delude themselves with their own arrogance. People often forget that we come from a tribal background. Our social structures, behaviors, and reactions have been formed by this reality for most of our species' history. Some people like to say that racism is not natural, but fear of strangers sure is, for the majority of us. Physical differences are just the easiest way of identifying others. If your clan was a harmonious racial mixing pot with a single culture, and an outsider showed up with a distinct difference, say a strong accent, or clothes or mannerisms, then that would be the identifier as an outsider and elicit the same sort of wariness and distrust in many of us, which has been a survival trait for generations. If a wariness of strangers is natural, and racism is an offset of this, is it then also natural? What is natural? Our craving for sugar and salt is a leftover from when these substances were hard to find. In the modern world of plenty, these natural cravings are downright dangerous to your health. People need to understand that we inhabit a physical machine, our body and even our mind. This body and brain of ours has restrictions, limitations, and mechanisms optimized for a set of parameters we have long since removed ourselves from. Yet we still have to live with their effects, useful or not, natural or not. We cannot wish them away, but we also don't have to follow them blindly. But first, you have to know that they are there at all. Many individuals like to think of themselves as separate in time, removed from the thousands of years of culture and civilization that have preceded them. How is this possible? Just look at the myriad of cultures today to realize that your whole outlook on life, how you react, and how you think is directly linked to your upbringing and to your guardian's upbringing before that, and so on and so forth. On top of this, what makes us us consists of an endless list of physiological variables, each of which is, at least partially, a roll of the dice at conception. One factor could change significantly, or a whole series of factors could change slightly compared to the parents, each of which could sum up into something similar, or indeed something quite different. Given this randomness in the randomness itself, it results in each of us being a unique concoction of physical attributes and experiences. The one thing that binds us are the mechanics themselves, even if the effect that each mechanism has upon us is quite different for each individual. That's right. Our emotions, our responses to those emotions, even how we think varies greatly from person to person, potentially even within the same family. Do you visualize a scene when you read a book? Do you only hear the words in your head as mental sounds, or do you see the words scroll past in your mind's eye? When you think, do you think in predominantly pictures or words? These fundamental mechanics can vary quite significantly from individual to individual. All we see are people's reactions to the world, not what goes into making those reactions. Culture does a great job of trying to standardize the reactions of individuals to any given situation, regardless of how they are formulated. This allows for a degree of conformity, which frees us of uncertainty when dealing with other individuals. Though it should be noted that these reactions may not be natural for everyone, and forcing some of the more rigid, expected reactions on some individuals may lead to typical types of rebellion and outbursts. This need to conform to a group or be part of a group identity is also natural for many of us. There is a degree of comfort, of certainty in at least being partially able to predict reactions to a certain situation from others. It frees us to undertake other matters. To say that only liberals or those willing to break the norm forge a way forward for humanity is to neglect the necessity of conservatives. Each step humanity is pulled forward by the liberals is only possible due to the consolidation of each step forced upon the conservatives, allowing a new platform for the liberals to launch themselves off of. We exist as a clan, not as individuals. Our varied temperaments allow for a mix of individuals that are mutually beneficial due to their differences, even if these differences are a constant cause of friction. Why is this the second most hated video on YouTube? Because it aims to strip away your certainty in yourself, in how you think and how you believe others think. Is it you? Is it a leftover of our tribal past influencing you subconsciously? What influence does your upbringing have on you? The physiology of your brain, the weather, your environment, your diet. There are too many factors to discuss here. This uncertainty may at first feel unsettling. It is actually quite natural for most of us to want to remove uncertainty from our lives after all. But it is this uncertainty which allows us to be aware of our physical and mental restrictions, if you will, hopefully allowing us to grow beyond them. In addition, it leaves us more open to the differences and miscommunications of others, as we are more sympathetic to our mutual plight in trying to free ourselves from our past and biology. We expect differences and are no longer annoyed by it, instead of expecting the easy simplicity of conformity, something that many in this polarized world will instinctively hate as they calcify into their chosen ideology and lament that if only the others thought like me, all would be right. They won't and never will, and each new generation will continue to throw up a mix of temperaments, thoughts, and physiologies, because that is what has led to our species' success so far.